The Chicago Bears have gained a lot of momentum with the decisions that they've made so far in the offseason through their trades, their free agent signings, and just also bringing in a new coach and a new energy around the team. On today's episode, I wanted to discuss this. How much would it mess up the Bears' momentum if Ryan Poles were to miss in the 2025 NFL draft, specifically with their first round pick? We're going to talk about it all and more right after this.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bears Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bears news and content.
What's going on, Bears fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bears Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bears related. I'm the host there, Haize. More importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Chi Bears Central on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go ahead and get into this content for today, y'all. And I want to talk about this from this thought. What happens if Ryan Poles misses in the 2025 draft? The reason why I want to have this conversation is that the Bears have gained tremendous momentum. They've made every move that they've made has made tons of sense for what that Chicago Bears team needs. Between the trade for Joe Thuney, the trade for Jonah Jackson, bringing in Drew Dahlman, right? Just everybody that they've brought in here in the offseason. Grady Jarrett was a really good signing, even though there have been some people that have kind of talked about that signing as if it's kind of questionable. I don't think it is. Haize has been another guy as well that I think is going to be a really good signing for the Chicago Bears. But there's so much hinging on continuing this process through the draft. How much can the Bears afford to miss? And how many picks can they afford to miss on if that ends up being the case here? And that's what I want to talk about, right? The Bears with tremendous momentum. And when you look at the starting lineups, they're pretty well set already for the Chicago Bears. Now, a lot of Bears fans, myself included, do hope that the Bears find a new starting caliber left tackle in this draft, because Braxton Jones has been okay, but Braxton Jones isn't the end-all, be-all when you look at starting caliber tackles in the league. So I think when it comes down to it, you want to see them improve in that position. We know that the Bears have put a priority on upgrading the running back position as well. That's been a big talking point for the Chicago Bears. Other positions that the Bears could address: edge, linebacker, safety, wide receiver, right? These are positions as well that the Bears could look to address in the 2025 draft. And when you look at it, it comes down to this, at least for me personally. The Bears can only afford to do so much when it comes in the draft, right? I think in a draft where you already don't have a lot of draft picks that Ryan Poles is used to having, right? You have to hit on a lot of these picks. I think as well with how many players at the positions that the Bears should be valuing the most are available where the Bears pick at. This is a draft where you have to maximize on that, right? Not to say that you can't trade back and things like that, but I think it just comes down to you got to make sure, right? Especially as the Bears are already preparing reportedly for the contract, giving Caleb Williams a contract extension at the end of year 3, right? To lock him in there. Or furthermore, you've locked in guys like Kyler Gordon. You got TJ Edwards signed to a 2-year contract extension for $20 million, which the money's really good on that deal, right? Replenishing as you get to the place of starting to re-sign the guys that you drafted earlier on, that puts even more of an emphasis on getting your draft picks right. You can't have misses, right? And the Bears have had some misses with draft picks, right? Later on in the draft, make no mistake about it. But, guys like Karen Amagaje, who was drafted later, still has a lot left to be shown, right? He has a lot left to be shown to really show to really prove that he can be something at the NFL level consistently, right? I think with the tackle now, if you go out there and get an offensive lineman, they better be somebody that you can, and especially drafting number 10. That's where the Bears have to excel at. And I think another thing that the Bears that kind of goes overstated or understated as well is you got to find success in the second round. The Bears have been really good at finding success in the second round of drafts, right? When you look at since the year 2000, right, and the Bears draft second round draft picks, you got Mike Brown in 2000, a one-time Pro Bowler, one-time All-Pro. Anthony Thomas, the running back, right? Offensive Rookie of the Year in 2001. In 2003, Charles Tillman, 2-time Pro Bowler, one-time All-Pro, Walter Payton Man of the Year, Hall of Famer, right? Devin Hester in 2006. We already know what Devin Hester brought, Hall of Fame, 4-time Pro Bowler. All Pro as well. Matt Forte in 2008, two-time Pro Bowler. Ashland Jeffrey, 2012, one-time Pro Bowler. Cody Whitehair, 2016, one-time Pro Bowler. Jalen Johnson, 2020, two-time Pro Bowler. You have to find success. You have to find success in the second round of the draft. While the 10th overall pick, you cannot miss on that at all. I don't think the Bears are going to miss at pick number 10. I think there's too much talent, too many players that have the chance of falling down there to the Bears. And if not, you can trade back. I'm not worried about the Bears missing at number 10. But when it comes down to those second round picks, number 39 and number 41, you cannot miss on those picks. The Bears cannot miss on those. And overall, I would like to think that the Bears are going to be able to get quality out of every selection. But, I'm also a realist, right? You have 2 7th-round picks. I'm not going to hold you against if a 7th-round pick ends up not working out for you. But pick in the first round, 2 picks in round 2, 1 pick in round 3, and the pick in round 5. Those are 5 picks the Bears cannot afford to miss out on. They have to get that done. And if they don't, that's going to be the place that can start setting you back in as well, right? And when you look at where the Bears have drafted players for the trenches before, you have to if you don't take an offensive lineman in round 1, you have to take your offensive and defensive lineman in round 2, right? Now, if you take one in round 1, cool. That frees you up to take your running back in round 2. It's cool there. But the fact that Ryan Poles has tried to find value out of not really spending premium picks on offensive and defensive linemen, for that matter, is something that has continued to hurt the Chicago Bears over the course of its history. You cannot keep doing that and expect to keep winning. You have to find value out of this. You have to go out there and get the guys that you need to be locked in. And if you don't, it's going to be ugly. It's going to be ugly. So the Bears, it's gonna come down to how you end up shaking it out. And I don't think the Bears can afford to miss on a lot of draft picks. They just can't afford to miss on a lot of draft picks. Josh says, I'm at this phase right now because outside the main needs, running back, backup safety, maybe a left tackle and left guard. As long as Poles hits on running back and depth at left tackle and running back, I'm fine with maybe not that much of a setback. And I get what you're saying. Like, don't get me wrong. There are going to be some pieces that turn into development pieces. There's going to be some guys that don't necessarily turn into Pro Bowlers. Everybody has to hit in the sense of being a Pro Bowler or all pro, but you need to get quality depth out of those. I think that's an important part of it. LO, you do know that roughly 30% of draft picks work out in general around the NFL. It depends on how you look at workout. A lot of those come into the later rounds, but there are and again, some teams just draft stupidly. We're not saying that you're not going to have some misses, but you can't miss on your premium picks. This is the coach from Jersey, Bears for life. One question. At number 10, I believe we still need lunch at running back, then edge. We need starting talent at both positions, and we need to hit and develop both positions. Yeah, here's the thing. Edge, I think we're going to be fine at. I think we're going to be perfectly adequate at edge, if not a little bit above adequate, right? But you still need to get to that place of just taking on quality picks. Bear down. Shout out to Calvin. Bear down. I agree with everything you said. Hey, I appreciate that. Like, I'm just looking at this right now, and I'm just saying that this draft, like nailing this draft, is really important for the future of the Bears, right? And again, you're going to have some guys that ultimately may not work out for your team, but you got to find more talent than not, especially, like I said, at those premium positions. Josh in the building says, Haize, let's say we do draft Will Campbell. If he's at 10, would Braxton mind not moving to being a depth piece, or do you think Poles will trade him? Poles may look to trade him. I'm not going to say that, but I think Braxton's going to look like this is an important year for Braxton. If you move him to the depth piece, he's going to play. He's going to, because he still knows he's auditioning for his next job. So he's definitely going to still be locked in, right? I think that he realizes he can't afford to just come into it either and be lollygagging away, right? But that does bring us to our next topic. I want to talk about today 3 Bears players that I think could possibly be traded in the Chicago Bears, right? I think that 3 players that could be traded between now and the trade deadline, right? I think number 1 on this list, I am going to have Braxton Jones on this list. And I do think when it comes down to it is that Braxton is not going to be traded during the draft. They've already talked about he's going to come into training camp. He's going to have an opportunity to really try to look at what he has, right? To see what he can bring Ryan Poles has talked about competition, but I think when it comes down to it as well, what the Bears get at the tackle position in this draft is going to really dictate it. And the reason why I think Braxton Jones could be traded is that the Bears, and I've said this many times before, I don't think there's really a world, unless Braxton becomes a near Pro Bowler or an actual Pro Bowler, that the Bears extend him. I just don't think that that's going to happen. This is the last year on his contract. I don't see him getting the contract extension with the Chicago Bears because between the tackle talent in this draft and the tackle talent in next draft, I expect the Bears to, at some point, draft a starting caliber tackle. Now, would Braxton take on a job at re-signing as a depth piece? I don't know, right? And Braxton Jones has been perfectly adequate, right? I'm not in the place where some Bears fans act like trash. He hasn't been complete trash. But the places where he has struggled at, I do think lend themselves to the Bears possibly looking at it and saying, we may have to do something else here, right? And because of that, I don't really think that they're going to get that Braxton's going to get that contract extension with the Bears, and thus is going to put them in a situation to where Braxton could be a trade piece for the Bears at the trade deadline here. I'm not going to put a whole lot of money on it, but I do think that he is a guy that is prime and ready to be traded by the Chicago Bears. The next guy, DeAndre Swift. And I think this comes down to a couple of things, right? Which running back do you get in this draft? If it's Ashton Jeanty, I'm telling y'all right now, DeAndre Swift, whether it's at the trade deadline or in the offseason, this is going to be DeAndre Swift's last. If it's Jeanty, that's it. If it's a guy like Quashon Judkins, Travion Henderson, maybe even a Marion Hampton, I can see those guys pairing really well with DeAndre Swift. Even if they take over the running back one position, they still could share a backfield with DeAndre Swift. But I do think that DeAndre Swift, again, it's not because Ben Johnson was there when he was in Detroit. That's not what I'm saying is happening here. But I think the style of running back that you get, the caliber of running back that you get is going to matter hugely when it comes down to DeAndre Swift in his future with the Chicago Bears. And I think that's just what comes down to it. Also, don't overlook if Roschon Johnson ends up staying healthy and let's say you do draft Ashton Jeanty, I can see Roschon and Jeanty being a better 1-2 punch with a complementary set of skills than Ashton Jeanty and DeAndre Swift long-term, right? And we know that Ryan Poles likes to give guys that he drafted opportunities and chances. So I think that DeAndre Swift leading into the trade deadline, if the Bears draft a running back that looks like they're primed and ready to take over, the Bears could be ready to strike and move on from a guy like DeAndre Swift in this draft. Next up, Tremaine Edmunds. And the reason why I say Tremaine Edmunds is because, A, he could be a cap cut casualty next year. B, we know that the Bears have looked around linebackers, right? I'm not saying for sure, but Tremaine Edmunds has been disappointing in his time with the Bears. He's shown some flashes. He's had some solid years. I think he can have a renaissance in a way under Dennis Allen. I think that could very well happen. But if Tremaine Edmunds disappoints again this year and the Bears also draft a linebacker in this draft, I think Tremaine Edmunds has the chance to be on the trade block between now and the trade deadline. I think a lot of things have to fall in certain ways for that to happen, but I do think that is an option on the board for the Chicago Bears if they decide to do that, and then they'll just have to see where it shakes out at that point in time. I think that Tremaine Edmunds could be somebody as well that other teams around the league, if they need to shore up their linebacking core, could be willing to give the Bears something decent, right? And keep in mind, if things go the way that we hope that they go, the Bears aren't going to be picking top 15 in next year's draft. So thus, stacking up assets for players that you know aren't part of your future and that you could plan to cut anyway, those are things that a smart GM could do, and I could definitely see Ryan Poles trying to do heading into next season as well. I thought about putting Tyreek Stevenson on this list. Again, not because Tyreek is bad, and I think Tyreek is really good, right? I think a lot of people have come down on Tyreek Stevenson. He's still top third in cornerbacks in the league. But Terrell Smith is right there. And so I think one of those two guys, Terrell Smith or Tyreek Stevenson, could be on the chopping block instead of giving those guys contract extensions. But again, that really is determined by if the Bears plan on doing anything else at the cornerback position, because under Dennis Allen, those defensive backs are going to get a lot of burn under Dennis Allen, and they're going to be a lot of sets where you're seeing 6, 7 defensive backs out there. And because of that, it really comes down to how Dennis Allen plans on using those guys. But I think those guys really have the highest probability and chances of being on the trade block. Ryan Bates is another one that could be, but I think Bates is just going to be a cut candidate. if Bates comes into training camp and he's not ready to go, and if anybody that we draft outshines Bates, I think Ryan Bates is probably going to be cut. But I wouldn't be surprised if Ryan Poles looks to explore the trade market there as well. One thing that Ryan Poles, I hope, learned from is that last year in training camp, the Bears got offered a draft pick for Velus Jones. And we all kind of saw the writing on the wall there. Now, Poles held on to him because he wanted to see what Velus could bring. And I hope that Ryan Poles has learned from that mistake and doesn't repeat that same mistake. And if teams come sniffing around some players, that Ryan Poles has a bigger openness to being able to move those guys. But let me know what you guys think on that. Dom says, besides Trey and TJ, who else do we have at linebacker? Noah Sewell. That's who we got right now. It's Noah Sewell. It's so technically our depth, if we're going over it in full, it's Noah Sewell that we have there. We still got Amin Anbog Ben Mia. I always mispronounce his name. He's another guy there. Carl Jones, we still have as another linebacker, and Amir Speed. No, Speed is a cornerback. Sorry, Carl side there. That's really all that we have. So I think we have to draft a linebacker at some point in this draft, I would think. But, we'll see. We should divide up the first four picks between running back, left tackle, right guard, free safety. You got to get quality starters at your most needed positions before you draft anything else. A balance between need versus want. I disagree with that because I think it comes down to the talent. Like, for example, safety, right? Our first four picks are first round, 2 in the second round, and 1 in the third round. There are starting caliber safeties that are going to go in rounds 4 and 5. And every draft has its priority. So I don't think it comes down to also how the market's going. If you can get a starting caliber safety and your biggest need is safety, but you can get it in round 5, there's no point in spending the money, the draft capital on it in rounds 2 or 3, right? So that's why I don't believe in going into a draft and saying we absolutely have to draft this position in this round, because it's determined by where the draft board is and how things are going at that point in time, if that makes sense, right? If Rashard builds up Braxton into, I say, an all-pro season, maybe Pro Bowl season, at max, in my opinion, at least you do keep him long-term. Yes, if that's the thing. If Braxton has an all-pro or Pro Bowl level season, at that point you probably feel comfortable paying him, right? At that point you feel comfortable paying him because he's shown you that he's able to bring in the type of performance that you need him to bring in. Braxton is not getting traded this offseason. You are also underestimating Amagaje. Bears will likely take a tackle on day 2 or 3. No, see, and this is the thing. This is when people try to be too smart. I didn't say Braxton will get traded in the offseason. Please pay attention to what I said. I literally said by the trade deadline. Literally said he won't get traded. And Amagaje is raw. You're overstating Amagaje. And we don't know if Amagaje is going to play tackle or guard. Right now, he can play either, right? But if Ryan Poles felt that Amagaje was for sure going to be a tackle, he wouldn't say that they're bringing in competition for Braxton Jones. So, and I don't think anybody's rating that. Kieran Amagaje can play either position. If you get Will Campbell, he can move to guard, right? So it's not about underrating. Amagaje hasn't shown anything. He's right now a ton of potential. We're talking about players at the tackle position that are sure things right now. A playoff run this year would have saved Tremaine Edmonds. If TJ has another standout year and they pick a new middle linebacker next year, it's up from there. Exactly. Edmonds is a goner after the season. I don't see any team trading for him. As for Stevenson, he's expected to thrive in Allen's scheme, where it'll be more man press. Smith is a zone guy. Not really. Smith has actually been better in one-on-one coverage than Tremaine Edmonds has. Than Tyreek Steven has when you look at the numbers. Terrell Smith can do either. Now, is he better in zone than in man? But let's not act like he hasn't been good in man. He's actually been pretty good in man coverage. Edmonds, yeah, I do think there's a higher chance than not that he's probably gone this offseason, regardless, and that's where the Bears really got to kind of take a look at him. We upgrade on Santos? Every cooker, boom, 60-yarders. I don't know what they're going to do with Santos. That's actually a really good question, right? Because Santos has been a guy where his level of production has been what it is, right? And more times than not, he's good. I don't know if the Bears really worry about that right now. If both were there at 10, though not likely, would you take Genty or Will Campbell? That is a great question. And I really don't know, bro. I really don't know. If they're both there, probably, here's the thing, probably Campbell, mainly because you can still find starting caliber running back talent later in the draft. I think that plays a part into it as well, as far as in the evaluation there. Will Campbell's such a special. Like, nobody's talked about Will Campbell failing, right? They've talked about maybe he moves to guard, but if he does move to guard, he's going to thrive at guard as well, right? Like, nobody doubts that Will Campbell is absolutely going to thrive in the NFL. And I just look at that. Like, if you can shore up and get guy and have your like Darnell Wright, Will Campbell, you got a veteran in Drew Dahlman who's going to be here for a long time. You locked up Jonah Jackson. We'll see what happens with Joe Thuney. I think you have to take that. I think you have to take it, but we'll see. We'll see, man. I wouldn't be mad either way is what it comes down to. I don't think either one is like this pick where I'm looking at and saying you're absolutely wrong but, we'll see what happens there. Man, out of Santos's number in the rafters, that man's won too many games for us. No Santos. Well, it's not hate. It's evaluation. Hate would be to say he's terrible. Nobody's saying that. Like, what, it doesn't take away from what he's done, but that past success doesn't guarantee future success, right? We're not giving legacy contract. Well, no. Poles has absolutely given legacy contracts out, so I can't say that. What up, brother? It's only one here. I'm the only one here. I'm the only one. I know I'm fat, but I'm not multiple brothers. No, I know what you mean there, bro. Calvin says Genty. I'm not mad at that either. I'm not mad if it ends up being Genty. Would you draft a tight end at 10? The only tight end I would draft at 10 is Tyler Warren. Otherwise, you can find really good tight end, solid tight end production later in this draft. So, but Tyler Warren is one that you could, tight end that I'm not mad if they take at 10. I understand if they take Tyler Warren at 10. Completely understand it. Dom says no one's hating on Santos. Agree there. Completely agree there. But overall, like the draft is coming up. Really excited about the NFL draft, man. We're going to be live. We're going to be live for. We're going to break it all down. We'll be live all 3 days of the NFL draft. So make sure you guys stay in tune with us for that one. That's going to be really fun to see how it goes. But hey, the path that the Bears are on, man, is really good. They locked up TJ Edwards yesterday. Steve-O got an emergency video out for that one. 2-year, $20 million deal. That's a really good deal for TJ Edwards, man. I love it. That's after already locking up Kyler Gordon, right? I love that Ryan Poles isn't waiting into training camp to get these guys new deals. He's taking care of business right now. He's getting his guys the money right now. And I love that, man. I think that you want to take care of people who've played well under you. TJ Edwards is a he should be a Chicago Bear for life at this point. He should be a Chicago Bear for life. He is a Chicago Bear linebacker. So how do you feel that it looks like Bears want a defensive tackle more than an edge? Thought the edge was more needed this season personally. I think that shows that, maybe they're looking ahead at the defensive end talent next year. I think that also may be a sign that they feel very confident Austin Booker is going to develop into a starting caliber edge. And I also think Dayo Odeyingbo is going to have a great chance. Like, he's been his per snap production is out of this world. And maybe it means that they really want to see if that turns into something more with him getting a chance to start here. So 3 things: Daniel Hardy, Dayo, Austin Booker, right? That they believe in those players and they want to give an opportunity to see how those players continue to develop, right? You got Grady Jarrett, you got Andrew Billings. Getting a long-term defensive tackle mate with Javon Dexter, I'm not mad at that at all. It's not a bad option there for me at all. Kevin Winston Jr. could be an option at 72 if he's still there. Could very well be. But all right, y'all, I appreciate you guys for tuning in, man. I may start doing this a little bit more in the morning more frequently, right? I always record early in the morning, but I don't always go live, mainly because I just like to, I love the editing process and all of that. But if you guys continue to show up, maybe we'll start doing lives a little bit more. We're also working on finally bringing memberships to the channel and bringing in more members-only videos when we do that as well. So look out for that, man. But overall, the Chicago Bears in the draft is going to be a very fun draft for the Bears. It's going to be, it's going to be a fun time. And I think the Bears have an opportunity to get so much of exactly what they need for this team. And we'll continue to see what happens here, man. But thank you guys for tuning in. Oh, wait, got a question here. Do you think TJ Edwards will receive a new deal if he has another breakout year, like a 3-year deal plus the 1-2 is $20 million deal? Well, now that he signed an extension, well, they can always, reformat the contract. But I think the 2 years is, again, so they're trying to, most of these deals are kind of overlapping at a period, right? The Bears are really trying to make sure, as far as veteran money, right, that they have They get it for opportunity because they're giving Caleb Williams that contract extension in year 3 when he's eligible. I think a lot's going to be based off that. 7 more days until we add a monster to the squad. Whoever we pick, I trust Ben Johnson and Ryan Poles. And Dennis Allen. Don't overlook Dennis Allen's place in all this. He's another reason why I have a lot of faith in this Bears team and the decisions that they could make in the draft as well. But that's just me. But guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you guys are following us at Shy Bear Central. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns. ChicagoBearsCentral@gmail.com. Lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. Wrong number, 773-242-9336. We're the number one spot for everything Chicago Bears related. We'll see y'all on the next one.